Chelsea beat Brentford 2-1, and we are here on the tactics board to speak all about it and exactly what happened in this game in terms of in possession approach, how Chelsea looked to break down that Brentford backline. And once again, we are wearing the lucky Christmas jumper, which is yet to fail. Since I've been wearing this, we have not lost a game. So if you want me to continue wearing this so that we keep winning games, please do drop a like down below and let me know that you want me to continue wearing this so that Chelsea continue to win and everybody is happy. So getting into it, let's have a look at the tactics. In between this video, I'm going to do sort of little splits like I've been doing, where I split, go to a picture, talk about that, and then come back to the tactics board, and we'll see how that goes. So if you enjoy that type of video, which is something we did, I think, last week at one point, and it went down fairly well, do let me know that you like that sort of integration and if it helps or doesn't help and whatnot. Just always like to know what is working and what isn't working for the viewers. So here you've sort of got that 5-3-2 that Brentford set up in. I did say in my preview, I expected a bit of a fluid sort of press from them in terms of having one of their fullbacks jump really high and almost making it look like a 4-3-3/4-4-2 at times. It was actually even more passive at times than I thought it would be in terms of dropping into that 5-3-2, which is it actually ended up being a really good thing, because we're going to talk about how exactly Maresca sort of conquered this and how we literally suffocated Brentford. And what I love about this sort of team now is we're just becoming a team that we can win in any game state. I still think against low blocks, we still miss the odd piece. Like I keep saying, a box dominant striker would help even more in terms of unlocking that and then allowing us to play a bit more expansive as the game goes on. And of course, towards the back end of the game for the last 10 minutes, there was sort of factors where better, and I think that will come with, again, sort of as the season goes on, learning as we go, because we are still a growing side. But I'm extremely happy with this game and sort of the different aspects that we showed within this game. So let's get started straight away. The first thing that we're going to speak about is that sort of that 3-diamond-3 almost that we played and how we looked to build up. We had this back four, right? And it essentially was, if I just get the line, it was essentially playing out in this sort of diamond at the back. You could call it this sort of diamond at the back, as well as then also forming that normal diamond midfield, because of how advanced Gusto and Cucurella, Gusto and Colwill were sort of expected to play at times. It essentially looked like this, where you had Tosin as sort of that cover defender in behind, and then you almost had a double inversion here with Caicedo to make this line of three here. And then you had Cucurella and Enzo pushing really high up to, again, create this sort of line of five behind Jackson. Here's an example of that base set up by Chelsea with Tosin, Colwill, Gusto, and then Caicedo as that lone pivot. And it was the platform set from these four players with these three, as you can see in this image, in a line ready to pounce and keep that pressure sustained and suffocate Brentford, with Tosin also there to provide cover that helped the game plan. With the two wingers nice high and wide to pin those fullbacks/wingbacks really sort of outside. That then meant that what happened here is, because of Jackson's already got one of the centre-backs, these two centre-backs want to be free to help. So what Enzo and Cucurella managed to do really nicely in this game was they'd start with their men and they would just drag them away, because these players didn't want the ball to go into these. So they'd stay a little bit in front, but they were staying really touch tight, which opened up these massive lanes of space for these two players, Gusto and Colwill. And here's the example of that. Look at that tight, compact block of five in the middle and how deep they are, which allows Chelsea to step onto them and allows those wide centre-backs the space to not only get into those areas and carry the ball into those areas to help pin Brentford back, but also to put those balls into the box themselves. Now, of course, you had then Caicedo, who was just sort of playing between these two, sort of on this line, getting the ball, sort of circulating it, but also just winning the ball back like an absolute maniac, as always. And what Chelsea then managed to do is they pushed this entire team back into this really rigid 5-3-2 block, where Colwill could play in this space, Gusto could play in this space. These two were then dropping all the way off as well, because, again, Caicedo could move into here. And Tosin, and then he's just sort of sweeping. So what you then had was Brentford completely pinned in. The wing-backs couldn't really offer the outlet because they were pinned in by our wingers. The midfielders, if they won the ball, they could break. But then that's where someone like Cucurella, who's so intense, if that ball was won and this man broke away, Cucurella would track with him. And Enzo did a good job of tracking with him too, to make sure that there wasn't too many sort of scenarios where they ended up with overloads. But if you can see that straight away, look how compact it is. And this is exactly why Chelsea continued to look for that ball into the box. And it was almost looking for that sort of, we're going to up the frequency of everything and we're going to trouble you all game long to the point that it is inevitable that something is going to happen. Something's going to fall our way and we're going to keep testing those waters. And I loved the game plan in terms of putting crosses into the box. Honestly, I did, even without a really natural box threat.
Just to highlight exactly what we're talking about here, look at the position Colwell's taking up and look at these crosses that he's whipping into the box. You've got players attacking the box, which is then dragging those Brentford players back with him, which allows Chelsea to keep stepping onto Brentford and keep them suffocated. Count the amount of Brentford players all behind the ball. And then look at it again here. Again, speaking of those three players in a line, Colwell, Caicedo, Gusto, sustaining the pressure and pushing Brentford back so they don't have an outlet and don't have a way out. If you watch a lot of that first half, a lot of the first half followed this exact rhythm.
Getting into these areas with Gusto and Colwell, who put in a lot of these crosses, again, well, it was like on their stronger foot as well, it was just perfect to then force these players back, force these players into the box. Again, Cucurella would move up, then these guys would move with their men. And then look how compact it is. You've got 3-4, and then even this winger, like the opposite winger, making a run in. You've got about 5 players attacking the box. Something's going to drop if you keep putting that ball into dangerous areas, especially when you've got the quality like Colwell putting it in. And then every time that ball was cleared, like I say, these guys are getting pushed all the way back. If the ball was in here, Caicedo was nipping in and he was winning it. If it was sort of being cleared out to these areas, you had Colwell and Gusto ready to sort of sprite into here and win the ball.
Here's an example of that with the depth of all those midfielders behind that yellow line. The only two players that are ahead of it are the two forwards and Burmo and Visser. And in this scenario, you've got the 4, that little diamond we spoke about at the beginning, with Tosin at the base, ready to pounce and sustain possession against those two. And again, you can see another example of that right here.
And then you had Tosin to cover up if the ball went really long. And again, these guys are pinned back as well. So they have no outlet to go into these channels. And Tosin was just cleaning those up really nicely. He won a 7 out of 7 aerial duels as well when they went long. And it was just this ability to sustain pressure that led to the Cucurella goal, because we were just persistent and it continued to happen. And that extra cross volume really did help, not only pinning the team back and allowing Chelsea to suffocate Brentford, but also getting the chances and then getting the goal. And then what I loved about the game as well is, like I say, with this tactical transformer aspect of things, is it stayed pretty much the same in terms of how Brentford were pressing. The main difference was they looked to gamble with one of their midfielders, is what they did. Sorry, I'm just having to move all this back now. But what they looked to do a little bit differently in the second half is they looked to gamble a little bit more with this midfielder on Cucurella. And they knew that Cucurella is going to be the man open from this. So if you're going to leave one of them open, it probably should be, again, it's that fullback that's inverting. So that's where you can you take your chances that you want to give up that player to have the space. So at times they would press, and even sometimes they'd actually go really aggressive and press both men forward, and this guy would sort of just stay sort of close enough to Palmer to sort of sweep up these central areas. But the idea then would be that if we can win the ball back, Chelsea, they're going to have, essentially, if Caicedo's out of position, they're going to have a 4v3 against the back 3.
Here's an example of that and how Brentford looked to be a little bit more aggressive in that second half, not only with Burmo and Visser in central positions, but also those central midfielders stepping up, ready to apply pressure on those wide centre-backs to not allow them to step into those zones they were stepping into in the first half.
However, what Chelsea then did really well is, I think it was pre-planned almost, that if Brentford do go man-to-man on us in this diamond, go direct. Because if we now go direct, let's say the ball is with Colwell and they look to apply pressure here and they're looking to block off here and he's going to put pressure here and he's sort of ready to go either side. Then if Colwell goes direct into, say, Jackson and he receives the ball here, then he can just, even any sort of touch on it, even if it's a little bit scrappy, all of a sudden Chelsea have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players against the back 5. Now, of course, this player can recover and he can make it a 6v6. But the idea to go direct and sort of win off those battles is giving Chelsea instead a +1 in the in their attacking third. So this again was just another game where it's all about numbers. It's a numbers game. Where can we find that overload? If they're going to press us, then we're going to find the overload in behind you. If they're not going to press us, then we're going to push you back into your own half to the point where we just can up our shot volume. 26 shots in this game. We can get lots of shots off. We can get lots of crosses off, and we're going to find that breakthrough. And that's exactly what we did. And then as that second half went on, we played more and more direct, sort of looked for those balls. We still slowed it down at times, which was nice because we still managed to sort of kill down the momentum of the game, let it resettle to us, and then still have some sustained pressure moments in that half. And then for the attacking goal, for Jackson's goal to make it 2-0, again, Casado wins it back in there. We're defending at the time. And I said about this yesterday, the right channel over here, when the wing back is pushed up high, this is where you can catch them out. And this is exactly what they did. Madueke had obviously trapped back here. Gusto, Tossin, Colwell, Kukurea. It was in sort of like a defensive moment, like I say. Madueke had trapped all the way back. Casado wins the ball back in here alongside Enzo, to the point where I think this guy's even pushed up as well, because I'll try and show an image of it. Jackson can spin off into this channel, which, again, another thing I mentioned, because as soon as Casado wins the ball back, Enzo can play that ball on the blind side of the defender. Jackson's in on goal. And again, I'll try and show this now on screen quickly.
Casado wins it back, plays it into Enzo, who then puts that perfect channel ball into Jackson, who can run in a 2v2 scenario, takes the ball, faces him up 1v1, and finishes so nicely.
But brilliant from Jackson, brilliant from Enzo, brilliant from Casado, makes it 2-0. And from there, Chelsea are able to see out the game. The game management side of things, it wasn't perfect. I'm just going to leave this like this now, by the way, whilst I speak off the end of the video. So obviously ignore most of what's on screen now. But I do think the game management could have been slightly better for the Kukurea goal, which I'll, for the Mbermo goal, coming from that Kukurea and Casado moment, which I will quickly show now.
This is what we're talking about. In those stages of the game where you've got Kukurea and Casado both in that sort of yellow circle that we've got there, you can then see that if the ball does break, you're only going to have 3 players behind the ball in terms of Gusto and the other 2 defenders. So that would have been Colwell and Tossin. Enzo can then look to get back. Again, though, Casado is a bit more sort of in there for that protection, and at least having one of Kukurea or Casado who is good at covering ground in that zone, I would have liked to see one of them just stay put in that moment.
But overall, I'm very happy with the performance. Another 3 points. Chelsea keep on marching. And I do want to know in the comments down below, how confident are you getting with each game that passes? Are you more and more confident? Where do you think this Chelsea side will finish? And how do you think we're going to get on against Everton? Do not miss any of the videos throughout this week. We're now 15 days in a row of daily uploads. If you guys are supporting every single video that I do, I really, really, really appreciate it, because I'm trying to branch out, but I'm also trying to stick to a lot of Chelsea favourites to do. I'm a Chelsea fan. 2 as well, that's where we've grown a lot of this community. But I do also want to throw in 1 or 2 videos a week of other squads and just really use my analysis toolkit that I've acquired over the years, because I do want to sort of expand and make more for myself overall, purely with the aims of going further and further and building such a good community that we can continue to just do really amazing things on this channel. So all the support is really greatly appreciated. 15 days in a row, and it's not going to stop. This week we've got plenty of content coming. I'm probably going to have, I'm not going to spoil one of the videos I've got coming out, but we've got about 3 Chelsea videos coming this week, which will include the Everton preview, probably a look at the, who are we playing? Shamrock Rovers. There'll be like a review from that game, and then I've got another 1 or 2 videos coming out on Chelsea and the tactical aspects of Maresca's side this week, and then we'll probably throw in 1 or 2 other teams analysis bits as well. So if you haven't seen those, we've got a Man City and a Liverpool one back on the channel from a few days ago. Go check those out. Please do drop a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video.